Okay, thanks. I'm very happy to be here, and this time I'm representing Olam Food Ingredients, but I come from academia. Last time I was here, I was doing my PhD, graduated this year, finally, but I'm working for the last 3 years for Olam. So I'm just going to present a quick overview from the implementer perspective on EUDR and some questions that we do from a methodological perspective from the company. First, I'm going to put everybody on the same page about what the hell is OFI, what are we doing. And then we are going to talk about deforestation drivers and the potential limitations on why EUDR may have effectiveness or not. And then I'm going to talk about the forest layers that are being used to determine compliance for EUDR. So, OFI is one of the 15 largest food and beverage companies in the world. We are present in more than 50 countries, 18,000 employees, and we trade multiple commodities, nuts, spices, cocoa, coffee, dairy. For EUDR relevance, cocoa and coffee are, of course, affected by the regulation. And we recently launched our sustainability corporate strategy, a renovation of one actually. We already had one that you can Google to see what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to present is framed on this strategy, which is also framed on the Science-Based Targets initiative that we are going to launch very soon. So when we talk about EUDR, I'm just going to show you first what is the challenge as a company. One is a methodological challenge, another one is a logistical challenge, and another one is a digital challenge. And it's a huge challenge. So what we start doing first is we had to register the farmers, so we had to have people present on the field. We have thousands of people on the field living in the communities. We have very close ties with the communities, and we are registering farmers. We are mapping the farms. And then, let me see, okay. Of course, farmers are not static, so we have to update the information. And farms are also not static, so we also have to update the information. But you have mapping issues, so you always have to check for quality. So we have multiple loops of that. And that comes into the traceability part, just data collection. Then we had to do the assessment for deforestation, and we assess deforestation, but also legality with all the different components required by EUDR. But we know, because this comes from remote sensing and third-party data, they are not perfect, so there might be false positives, so we go and do ground verification. So we go back to the farmers that have been flagged as no compliance, and we ask them, do you recognize this, what could have happened in your farm, and we take pictures. All this is integrated in different digital infrastructure systems that we have, and of course we use data from different partners and recognize data. And all that is joined into a huge, massive system called Track and Trace that is linked directly to EU traces. It's going to be linked for that for EUDR due diligence statements. Okay, so now you know the challenge, this is what we are doing. Okay, so on the assessment part is where I'm going to talk about more now. So, in OFI, of course, we know we need to comply with the EUDR, but EUDR only targets 7 crops. And we know we are embedded in complex landscapes where these crops are not the only drivers of transformation. And we know if we want to achieve impact, we have to look at what is happening around, the landscape level dynamics. And for that is that we wanted to see, okay, is EUDR really going to cover, to help us stop deforestation in the landscapes where we are sourcing from smallholder farmers, yes or no? And if not, what kind of other sectors do we need to engage so that we are able to generate impact? So we did a very, very short analysis. We used 3 different data sets. So first, there is this amazing publication from Ceclilie, 2024, Nature. He evaluated 20 years annual drivers of deforestation in Africa with 15 land use and land cover classes. Interestingly enough, the reason why we use this is because it includes crop-specific analysis. So not just agriculture, not just forestry production. Then we use the map biomes because we also wanted to see beyond Africa. It's similar logic, a little bit less granularity though. And then we combine this with our own data. So for cocoa, we have more than 600,000 farms locations, and for coffee, around 48,000. So this is how, just a snapshot of how our data looks like. So I say 1,000 for cocoa. Of course, the majority of them are in Cote d'Ivoire and in Ghana. In light blue, number of farmers, and in darker blue, number of plots. Of course, a farmer can have multiple plots. Lower data volumes for Uganda and Brazil, because cocoa is a less important sector there. So you just put the map of Masolele. These are some of the land use classes he has. And in red, you can see the cocoa farm locations. You can see it's a mosaic, right? So cocoa, this is showing the cocoa farms. So let's look at cocoa here. Okay, cocoa, it's the light blue. You can see, so this is showing the actual pioneer driver of deforestation. So the cause that changed pristine forest to non-forest, okay? From the last 20 years. So, as you can see, cacao has been a direct driver of deforestation in our cocoa farms only in a very small area. In other areas, you have a huge presence of other drivers. Okay, this is just a snapshot. This is showing West Africa, but this is how it looks in statistics. So, on the farm, inside what we are absolutely sure right now, it's a cocoa farm for at least the last 2 decades, because we are sourcing from these farmers for the last decades. So right now they are cocoa. This is how it looks like. So in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, yes, cocoa has been definitely the biggest driver of deforestation. As you can see, this dark brown. This is cocoa spiking, especially after 2013. It's massively increasing. But for other countries, as you can see, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Uganda here, in the case of Cameroon and Nigeria, you have other land with tree cover, which is basically deforestation and degraded land, not necessarily converted to any commodity production, has been the main driver. So ecosystem degradation. And in the case of Uganda, you have small-scale cropland, basically food crops for subsistence agriculture. So this is very easy. If a company is only just focusing on the commodity tackled by the EUDR, we're not going to drive any change. Clearly here, this is showing which are all the other sectors that we need to include. Interesting, Cameroon and Nigeria, I told you this is forest degradation. This might include criminal groups and illegal timber extraction. And for Uganda, this might be hinting poverty, of course, because people need to eat and they need to clear the land for that. At the landscape level, so not only within our cocoa farms, but in the surrounded area, we did a buffer of 20 kilometers to see that. The trend is different. So in Cote d'Ivoire, in Ghana, yes, still landscapes are very much cocoa specialized, and you can see cocoa is still a main driver. But in all the other countries, the small-scale cropland, so food security, poverty needs, is still jumping up. For Brazil, we did it as well, but you can see forests, area is reducing, pasture is increasing. They don't have a category in cocoa, so we really didn't get a lot of insights here. But for coffee, it was a bit more interesting because Map Biomass does have a category in coffee. And you can see here the dark brown is coffee increasing, while the pasture land is decreasing. So we have seen some areas of pasture land being replaced by coffee, and here is what you can see as well. So again, it's the same story, right? We cannot just be focusing on the crops that are targeted by EUDR. No matter how strong is this legislation, and we are fully supportive for it, it is not enough. And OFI, we are framing, and I'm in charge of that, landscape level initiatives that try to look beyond the farm, because we know, yes, we have direct responsibility on the farms, but we are a very important actor in the landscape, and we cannot just constrain our actions to that. So the last part is changing a little bit the topic. It's about which kind of layers are we using to implement EUDR. So as you know, out there, you have the SBTN 2020 Natural Land Map, you have the years.The 2020 Forest Map, and then different countries are coming with their own maps. So Cote d'Ivoire being one of them, the Carte d'Occupation du Sol Ivoirien, it was released this year, so we need to see which one do we need to use. Because basically these maps are telling us what was natural land in 2020, and in all those areas there shouldn't be any deforestation. We shouldn't be buying for any farm that was established after 2020 in those locations, okay? But we don't get any guidance. Of course, as companies, you had to choose yourself. So we did an analysis and we compare. Again, these are the counts. This is how it looks. This is just showing a snapshot in West Africa, in Cote d'Ivoire. As you can see, the SBTN map, so all the shades of green are what is classified as forest land in the respective source. As you can see in red, these are our cocoa locations, and the SBTN map manages to classify the cocoa farms as non-natural land indeed, while the years.The map, you can see a lot of green everywhere because a lot of the cocoa farms are classified as forests, while we know these are not because we talk to these farmers, we know the farms, and we are trading from them for 10 years. And if you don't know, cocoa takes at least 4 to 5 years to produce, so there is no way a farm that has been established after 2020 is in the value chains at the moment. And the Côte d'Ivoire map, so we use this because it's government release. Of course, we need to trust the information of the government. It's very much aligned with the SBTN map, so yeah, it's very much in line. And we had to make a decision of which of these maps is going to guide our decision making. I mean, I think it's easy to see which one is more accurate than the others. This is how it looks for Brazil. Okay, so small remark. The precision of these maps is different between Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, which are the most two important producing countries, than the rest of the world. So I'm just showing you here Brazil. In red, again, the farm. This is Pará state. So as you can see, they are more or less in the same page. So there is much less discrepancy in Brazil in any other countries between the data sources. And this is how it looks in terms of just general statistics for all our countries. So I'm showing here how many of the plots are misclassified by each of the sources. As you can see, years.The has the largest ones compared to SBTN. And Côte d'Ivoire map and SBTN map have a little bit the same, but is disproportionately bigger for Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana than for the rest of the countries. Now, EUDR tells you that 0.5 hectares is the minimum to be considered forest. So when we apply that layer, that filter, the trends stay, but as you can see, there is a reduction in the percentage of farms that are flagged as non-compliant. Up to, yeah, we have here around 2,000, before we had around 20,000. And Côte d'Ivoire had around 200,000 plots for us. So it's massive. So main takeaways from the first part of what I show you. From 2013, deforestation is definitely increasing, but as I show you, the targeted crops by EUDR are not just the responsible ones, there are many others. Cocoa is just the pioneer deforestation driver in only 2 out of 6 African countries analyzed. Where cocoa is more than 50% of the regions not the pioneer, the historical deforestation driver. And in coffee in Brazil, coffee is the 4th. I already told you, this is a limitation of EUDR. It is great that it's out there, but it is not enough. And ambitious companies know this, and we are making strategies to go beyond. We need to tackle the diverse and significant drivers in the landscapes for conversion. And the SBTN map, it's, let's say, 3 times more accurate than years.The map for enforcing EUDR. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. One quick question.
Thanks very much. It's great to have some company insights at the conference, so thanks for sharing that. You've identified how important it is to work at the landscape scale to address deforestation, but what we understand is one of the challenges for companies is working pre-competitively at that scale. I know that OLAM is leading one of the hotspot intervention areas in Ghana, but has the EUDR changed the incentive structures for companies to be able to work pre-competitively or not? If so, how? But if not, what can be done to improve that?
Yeah, so working pre-competitive is not a problem at all for us. We have many projects, maybe the one you know, but in many different countries we're working with our competition, but also with multiple customers that work with our competition. So out of the discussion, we are doing that. We know it's necessary. EUDR is more of a competitive field, I would say. Like companies are trying to differentiate themselves on which one is capable to understand and actually have a system up and running. The landscape initiatives, I think, go in a different stream because then you're trying to go for carbon reduction, which is a completely different topic, and nature goals. So I don't think they has to do with one or the other. And for the case of OFI, we had the ambition of landscapes much earlier than the EUDR, which was out there.
Thank you, and I'm afraid we have to move on. I know there are more questions. Please find Claudia later in the coffee break. So with that, we come to our last presentation already. So Katja, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for your presence today. I am Katia Diaz. I'm a PhD student in Geography and Sustainable Development at the Bees Academy for Nature, University of Bern in Switzerland. I am honored to be supervised by Julie Zähringer, and I have also as co-supervisors Fernando Fernandez and Kunming-Montréal. My role here is to contribute to the analysis of public policies in mining, taking as a case study of Madre de Dios. So within the following minutes, I will going to show you how is my, what stands for my motivation, that I am going to outline my background. Then I'm going to show you my proposed research questions, methodology, plan fieldwork, and expected results. So let's start. I took the telecoupling framework as my motivation of my research in order to stand my research topic within factual context. So I identified which is the gold demand, where is located the wealthy consumers. We acknowledge that gold have evolved through the time, passes through, becoming to an asset. And nowadays, like the consume is more centered on jewelry and coins and so on. So these high demands impact on rising the gold and the price on gold. Nowadays is 2 times higher than was 10 years ago. And also impacts on the policies, either national or international, and and this makes weak policies. And in my understanding, this half of the system contributes on the perpetuation of the dependence on the value chain of gold on the receiving system, in my understanding, on the extractive economy, such it is my case study, Madre de Dios. Why is it? Because Madre de Dios, first of all, is rich in biodiversity. In Peru, is known by the capital of biodiversity. But also because geologists have already acknowledged that there is a lot of research of gold, pure of gold reserves within the placers and rivers and so on. For instance, we have more or less 47 millions of pure gold within the rivers. And also, as a Peruvian researcher, I would like to understand why or if it is a case of the citizens to turn to more sustainable economic activity. If we compare, for instance, the price on the market of 1 kilogram of cocoa, which is costing $7, and in comparison to 1 kilogram of gold, pure gold, which is costing around $88.5 thousand. So starting from this point, many scholars have studied the problem in order to contribute to more sustainable practice, and I am only choosing 2 points of the problem for this presentation. And first of all, they acknowledge that since the first introduction of the artisanal scale gold mining policies into the Peruvian policies, the progress of formalization process has been really slow. So from 20 years ago, in 2002, until now, it has been like around 6 postponements of formalization processes due to protests or lobbying by miners. So the result of that is that we only have, in Madre de Dios, we have only 356 formal miners. Informal miners, we have 1,020, and illegal mining is estimated around 10,000. So the illegal mining activity is causing what we see in the picture at the right hand. And at the national level, it is more or less that trend. The second part of the problem in that scholars have identified that Peruvian policies are mainly top-down and focus primarily on enforcement. And this enforcement mainly shown by interdiction. I mean, natural science agree and advocate that this contributes to deforestation, I mean, to reduce the deforestation. Nevertheless, other scholars argue, I mean, and question whether they are effective because the budgeting for this, it costs 2.4 times higher than I mean, contributing to formalization processes. So after 1 year of investing in these interdictions, the budgeting is finished, and miners come more aggressive, mainly turning to illegal activities. So this is the worst case scenario. So also these scientists analyze and conclude that one part of the solutions towards sustainability mainly can be conducted within more bottom-up making policies, innovating institutional changes based on social processes, and multi-stakeholder engagement, including marginalized populations. Also, they argue that it could benefit the centralization of artisanal scale mining regulation that should be more based on context-specific conditions. So my overall PhD research question would like to explore on under what conditions do participation processes play a role in policymaking to achieve sustainable artisanal scale gold mining in Madre de Dios. I am understanding as participation processes as the mechanisms that enable the marginalized populations to engage in decision making within policy making. Also by co-producing strategies that address the sector complexity and foster collaboration. And also by sustainability, I am understanding the equilibrium within the factors of biophysical, social, and economic. And one step towards that overall approach is my ongoing study in which I would like to understand how has the collective action of these mining populations influenced in the formulation and implementation of these mining policies since the creation of a formalization process. So I am understanding as collective action as the voluntary self-organization, negotiation, collaboration of individuals based on shared interests, social identity, and geographic proximity. My methodology for this is case study, inter and transdisciplinary, and I am mainly want to apply in-depth semi-structured interviews. My fieldwork after this conference will take around 2 months, and I will be visiting 5 representative mining sites, and I will split the interviews in 2 phases. First, as exploratory approach, I'm going to conduct a key informal interviews to expert knowledgeable people, and in order to refine my questions for the second phase, in order to conduct more to, targeting more mining owners, mining leaders, and workers. And with this, my goal is to test hypotheses. So my expected results are, I subdivided into 4 sub-research questions, but I am only choose the 2 most important ones. And first, I would like to answer the question of how do the diverse type of knowledge and plural values shape collective action. I am departing from the hypothesis that diverse knowledge type and plural values shape collective action in these mining communities, influencing their organization and strategies. And secondly, I would like to know more about how do collective actions view as spaces for co-creation influence policy making processes. And my hypothesis for this is that collective action engage with policy making through protest and lobbying. Please, you can scan my LinkedIn QR. Thank you very much for your patience. And if you have any comment, advice, will be very welcome for my ongoing study. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Katja. We have time for question. Yes, I have to run somehow. Maria.
Thank you very much for a very fascinating talk and looking forward to hear more from your work. I was wondering a little bit if you have thought of integrating also deliberative governance stuff, mini-publics. It's, I think, the third talk today where I hear participatory processes and facilitating these processes, but somehow it seems there is a disconnect of this community with the deliberative democracy community and citizen governance, citizen democracy. So mini-publics might be actually something that might be very useful for your research, and I wanted to share that just as a comment.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Is there another question? No, then that's actually perfect for our timing, as the next session organizers are already impatiently waiting. I would like you to give a heavy clap for our all-female panel representing Brazil, Peru, Mexico, and I forgot one country. Well, thanks so much for attending this afternoon.